Con l'argomento finance,
esatto.
Passiamo però alla DeFi di cui si è già accennato. Lo facciamo parlando, in realtà avremo un focus su Algorand e sull'ecosistema DeFi di Algorand. Avremo con noi diversi rappresentanti di startup che stanno contribuendo alla crescita e all'accelerazione dell'adozione della DeFi su Algorand, per cui siamo molto onorati di avere con noi sul palco Benedetto Biondi, CEO di Voice Finance.
Prego Benedetto, benvenuto.
Benedetto. E in presenza anche Natalie Salemink.
Natalie, benvenuta.
Di Prismatic. Welcome Natalie. Collegati con noi abbiamo Ekin, Selcuk. Apologies if I mispronounce your surname. Benvenuto, okay. Welcome. Marketing Manager di TinyMan.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, and Michael Cotton, co-founder di Algomint. Welcome.
Welcome.
A moderare l'intervento invitiamo sul palco Massimo Morini. Eccolo, benvenuto. Chief Economist di Algorand Foundation. Benvenuti. So this panel will be in English, of course. The stage is yours. Thank you for being here. I leave you to your presentations.
Okay, so thank you everyone to be here, and thank you to all of our panelists to be connected digitally or physically. Well, the previous panel also mentioned what DeFi is, And there was a comment that I liked particularly from the previous panel. Well, DeFi is not the decentralized version of a bank, DeFi is really a different thing. If it was the decentralized version of a bank would be doing DeFi now, That's not what is happening. It's the people, it's the community of blockchains who is building DeFi, And it's true that, in a sense, it solves some of the issues that finance was supposed to solve originally, Finance is about moving resources in time, and that's, in a sense, what lending and borrowing does. For example, finance is actually moving resources in space that now becomes also moving resources from different platforms, for example, or from different tokens, which is part of what finance should do. Finance is also allowing people, to manage better their resources for the future, for their life, for the way they wanna contribute to the economy. And finance did these things in a certain way that is actually looking older and older. DeFi solves some of the same problems, but in a completely different way and starting from a completely different direction. Well, what it means that DeFi is decentralized? It means that DeFi is a totally open proposal from different platforms, different technologies, and different groups, and different projects within the different technologies. Almost everyone looks completely different from what has been seen before. The way in which it tackles issues is completely different, but the purpose is, and it's not difficult to understand, solving what are the financial problems of people and of a community. So now we have a few players here that I'm happy to say that some of them are already working on the Algorand platform. Some of them are planning to work on the Algorand platform. In Algorand, we believe that DeFi is essentially the most important thing that blockchain can do. We think that our design, from the technological design, from Silvio Micali, until everything that we have done from the foundation or from the other ecosystem players, has got the purpose of making the best Algorand, the best solution, the best platform for DeFi, in terms of efficiency, in terms of really secure settlement, in terms of superior form of smart contracts, and many things. But now I've already spoken even too much, and I'm going to let our panelists to tell about their own experience. So first of all, I'm asking Michael to tell us what he thinks that Algomint, his project, is bringing to the blockchain community, to the Algorand community, and also maybe a little bit of why he chose to actually develop this project on Algorand rather than on another platform. So please, Michael.
Thanks, Massimo. So Algomint, for those that aren't aware, we're an interoperability platform bridging liquidity from Bitcoin initially and Ethereum into the Algorand blockchain. We'll also allow liquidity to flow out of the Algorand blockchain into other ecosystems. But the overall goal is to really create that interoperability between a whole range of different layer 1 blockchains and allow liquidity to flow freely from whether it be Solana, Cardano, Cosmos, Polkadot, Ethereum, or Bitcoin in and out of the ecosystem. The reason it's so interesting and the reason it has really valuable proposition is if you look at things like Bitcoin, bridging Bitcoin into Algorand allows it, one, to achieve great velocity, almost instant finality, low transaction costs, which means something like buying a coffee with an Algorand wrapped Bitcoin is genuinely possible. Also, bridging it allows it to sit on a carbon negative blockchain, which is another really interesting element and a fantastic innovation that Algorand offers. In terms of the reasons we started to work with Algorand, I actually met with the team very early on, back when they first launched Mainnet. Really got along with the team, really loved the tech they were building, loved the passion, and loved where they were heading. And for us, that was a real bonus because we already loved the tech. We already were sold. We thought this was really a part of what's going to be the next generation of blockchain technology. That allows broader adoption, it really would form that aha moment of why people would understand what blockchain is really here to do. So also loving the team and loving what they were doing and loving the way they worked was a real bonus for us. And it made it an easy decision to start building on Algorand. And I think if you start to think about how this technology then really starts to be utilized, especially when you're bridging tokens like Bitcoin, and in conjunction with platforms like Ekin's, which is TinyMan, which is a decentralized exchange, the ability to then trade from Bitcoin to Ethereum without things like front running, with low transaction costs, with really fast speeds, creates the next generation of finance that's usable on all kinds of scales. So, a great example would be buying that coffee with Algorand wrapped Bitcoin and then having the actual business settle via a DEX all in a matter of seconds into a local stable coin. I think is really where we'll see the future of some of this technology going, and we'll see less of the middlemen sitting in between some of these transactions.
Thank you, Michael, also for this vision that you're giving us. Now I'm going to ask Ekin, that also has a project which is running strongly on Algorand. I'm even, it's even a pity that we call it a decentralized exchange, because we still reference, to an old kind of business, Obviously, you actually solve the problem that exchanges want to solve, but in a really different way. So I'm asking you as well, what you think is the value proposition of TinyMan, and what is the benefit that you think you're bringing to the blockchain community, and also what you think is the contribution that the Algorand community can give to your project and to your business, please.
Thank you, Massimo. First of all, thank you very much for having me here. I'm sorry for not being there physically. So I'm Ekin Selcuk. I work for TinyMan, and TinyMan is, for those of you who don't know, is a decentralized trading protocol. It's an AMM protocol, and it utilizes the fast and secure framework of Algorand blockchain, and it creates an open and safe marketplace for traders, liquidity providers, and developers. So basically, actually, it's in its very basic form that you go there and you can swap any assets, and you can be a liquidity provider. So like you can mint your own pool tokens, or you can burn them, and that's what how you get around in TinyMan right now. And we think that the TinyMan will bring great access to Algorand. That our value proposition in its most basic form is to increase the adoption of all the other assets, projects, teams that are actually looking forward to meeting their communities and interact with them by exchanging their tokens, by exchanging their values, so that they will have the space to grow. And TinyMan actually gives this access to these other tokens right now. So, and you asked about the community as well. So the community is very important, especially for me, because I'm the marketing manager right now. And what I do every day is to talk with the community. And community is what you have but at the side of also the ecosystem that you have. Because in the ecosystem, you have the VCs, you have the projects, you have the teams, you have the blockchain teams. But the community is also there, and it's, I mean, arguably is the most important thing there is, because what we're doing all is for them, and their suggestions and their feedback is also bringing us to the future. So what we actually want to do with community is, first of all, become as decentralized as possible as TinyMan, so that they will be in charge of TinyMan. They will take decisions. They will decide what we do, what we'll not do. And this can be like the littlest details to the grand decisions in the future. So community will be there. Also, we are learning a lot from the community, because they're not just people who are just trying things out. They're here for us. They're actually giving us feedback. They want to do things, and there are a couple of projects that are already built on the infrastructure of TinyMan, and those people are actually taking this project further, because we as a whole will function. I mean, without them, without the ecosystem, without the other projects, without the access, nothing will work.
Thank you very much, Ekin. Thank you also for talking to us of your project of decentralize your own governance, which is something that we are doing even at the level of the Algorand Foundation. We have actually launched our decentralized governance program, which is already taking charge of managing our fundamental tokenomic decision and the actual management of the community assets which are actually curated by the foundation. And that's really because we believe that everything in this sector needs to be decentralized, including, you know, the Algorand Foundation. And now we come to Italy in two senses, in the sense that you are here, and with Benedetto, whose project is actually based in Italy. Can you tell us what you think is the added value from Volksfinance, and also a little bit of what Volksfinance is planning to do, please?
Thanks, Massimo, and thanks to the organization for this amazing panel. Thanks to the guest. So I am Benedetto. I am the CEO of Volksfinance. Volksfinance is a lending protocol. What a lending protocol does, it provides in a decentralized way the service of lending and borrowing in a peer-to-peer manner. Basically, anyone is available, can do liquidity providing to the protocol. Someone else is willing to borrow this liquidity and pay an interest which is going to be used to pay the interest received by the depositor. So I see this a very beautiful manner of doing finance. And Algorand, why do we choose Algorand? Obviously, thanks to its unique feature, technical feature of scalability, quick and predictable time of execution, fixed and low cost of transaction, which we have seen in other ecosystems that it's a very difficult point, because for a user to have these low fees, for example, on a lending protocol, it means that he can go and switch asset for a low price and switch for another higher APY, or compound the interest more times in a day without spending anything. So this is, from this side, a very value add that we take from Algorand. And as well, for us, Algorand is the technical player, the best technical partner, because we see in Algorand the reputation of institutionally trusted. And we see in Algorand the future of finance to be borderless, to be open to the masses thanks to these low fees. And as well, we see how, for example, Massimo mentioned, they are decentralizing the governance. And with the coming on of so many protocols such as TinyMan, Algomint, Prismatic. This is a beautiful ecosystem that is growing with the value of Algorand, a green blockchain, and we are strongly happy of building this, strongly confident in the DeFi future of Algorand, and that's a beautiful, a beautiful ecosystem that everyone is doing its best for making it the future of finance.
Thank you, Benedetto. And now Natalie, who is not, I mean, actually, she represents the future here, because Prismatic is actually a project that Natalie and her team is designing. She joined us coming from Switzerland, which is another blockchain hub very near to Milan. I say another because I do hope we will be able to say the same about Milan sooner better than later. And I'm asking you, Natalie, what do you want to bring with your Prismatic project to the blockchain, to the Algorand blockchain, and in general to the community of blockchain users?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me to start with. So I'm the founder of Prismatic, and we're an on-chain asset management protocol. And the reason we're the future is because we're only launching in 6 months. But essentially, our core value proposition is to give access, right? So to give access to asset management tools, and to we think that Web3 has given all of us the opportunity to be our own bank and to be our own asset managers. But perhaps there's like a lot of people that don't want to be their own asset managers. So people kind of go out and they they try to find investments that suit their risk-return preferences. And we kind of want to give an easy avenue to map those risk-return preferences to investment strategies. And we kind of want to go a little bit further as opposed to just doing copy trading, but we actually want to set up the incentive structure of the platform in such a way that we attract asset managers that run actual strategies that optimize for the things that you would want as an investor. And I think Algorand as a blockchain lends itself really well to an asset management protocol. I mean, for all the obvious reasons, like that it's it's fast, it's secure, it's scalable, so that's really great. But I also think because it kind of uniquely positions itself as the blockchain for institutions and governments, that's really attractive from like a legitimacy perspective. And I think that liquidity will likely get there, given how they position themselves. So yeah, and then obviously, building on Algorand also means that we can run, or like the funds on Prismatic can run really cool strategies because transaction fees are so low. So we don't have to, like you could run a quant strategy and that would be perfectly cheap, right? As opposed to, what it might cost on some other networks. So yeah, and I guess what we're bringing to Algorand, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of these projects at the moment that are like the core primitives that are really important, right? So they're like DEXs or lending platforms. While asset management is kind of, I like that it's going to be this application that will bring like new users to blockchain that maybe don't even really have to know that the platform they're using runs on blockchain, but it's like real value add to bring them some outside capital that's not currently in DeFi. Yeah, so it's like this this end user platform. So I think that's quite cool. I hope that answered your question.
No, you did, definitely. And thank you for calling us the blockchain for governments and institutions. Well, what can I say? In a sense, it's true what you say, in a sense that, well, Algorand, for example, Silvio, comes from the academia and from being one of the creators of modern cryptography, which is certainly something that no other blockchains can actually have. But I have to admit that myself, like many other people working at the foundation, my past has been in banks, has been working for several international institutions and also for some governments. That's true. But what is important in Algorand is still our community, is still the way we are decentralized, is still the way we actually allow people to work and to develop, like the projects that we are having here. It's certainly true that we try to be always a little bit one step ahead in terms of technology, in terms of the way we behave, also looking always at the regulatory landscape around us. And this is also because we want to be ready to the moment in which governments and institutions will be ready actually to join the blockchain, because that's the direction we are seeing, you know, after having been ignored for a while, after having been considered maybe a danger for a while. Now they are realizing that there are many projects that are really, you know, a benefit to the community under many points of view. Not only, but also for the fact that we are a green project. So thank you for making these considerations. Now I want to ask you a little bit about this topic, you know. So we are talking of the blockchain, and we are also talking about institutions that we are used to see as part of the old world of finance. And in a sense, you know, you, Natalie, spoke about asset management. You, Benedetto, spoke about borrowing and lending. We used for TinyMan the expression of an exchange. And in a sense, Michael, you also spoke of, you know, moving and transforming what we could certainly call asset, you know, digital assets. So in a sense, how do you see yourself also as part of what we can consider a larger business made up of old and new parts, you know? So what is, for each of you, your view of this of the business you consider yourself into? How do you think it's gonna evolve, you know, into something more decentralized, maybe something more centralized? And also, in a sense, what are your own plans for this future, you know, with your project, with your company, and with your own individual commitment? So please, Michael.
Thanks, Massimo. I think in terms of where we're heading, I think we're definitely heading in more of a decentralized world. I think in reality, we can trust math, and we can trust decentralized systems that have been programmed to execute in terms of the transactions we allow them to take. And I think it's definitely the way to progress this ecosystem. So I think for us, we're definitely heading into a more decentralized world. And I think as Algorand's capability on chain opens up, as we see things like EVM 1.1 come to life, the ability to become more decentralized will become more possible. In terms of how this fits together, I think Natalie kind of alluded to it before. You know, in reality, though something like TinyMan, Folks, and Algomint form some of the base pillars of what's needed in the ecosystem, something like Prismatic is also what actually interconnects all those platforms. So, you know, a really great example is you could bridge BTC through Algomint, take it into Prismatic and put it into one of their funds. That fund could leverage that at Folks Finance for a loan to go and trade into an asset that the fund wants to hold at TinyMan. You know, a really great example of how something like Prismatic starts to reach out and connect all these different parts of the ecosystem. And I think we'll see more complexity and more programs or protocols like Prismatic start to get built that create more ability to do different elements. I think probably the next step in terms of what this means in broader adoption is seeing more people gain access to things like Algorand and the blockchain ecosystems. The brilliance of something like Algorand, with its high speed, with its instant finality, with the security, with the stability of the chain, also means that in reality, it's going to be far more usable for individuals. You know, even as I referenced before, the ability to start buying a cup of coffee with an Algorand wrapped Bitcoin without having to wait for a transaction to complete or wait for enough blocks to complete to have certainty of transaction while still not being custodial, is that brilliant mixture of, one, becoming more decentralized, but also becoming highly usable by the broader community, which I think is the magic that we really want to see happen. I do apologize for not being there as well. I can assure you, if I could make it to Italy, I would definitely be there with bells on. But thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michael, for giving us a view of also, apart from the future of interoperability and bridges in the blockchain world. And now, Ekin, can you give us a view of, in your opinion, of the future of exchanges and DEX? Because you have already a name, you know, for a sector that is actually different from exchanges, and also a little bit of the plans of TinyMan for the future, if there is anything beyond what you have already told us in the previous answer. Thank you.
Massimo, well, first of all, I want to make something very clear to the audience. And we do not really consider ourselves as a DEX, as a decentralized exchange, because we're not just an exchange. I mean, TinyMan is out there for people to access the Algorand's assets and to be able to provide liquidity and to be able to do whatever they like, actually, a user-centric protocol, as you might, and it might look like it, but we are considering ourselves to be a greater to be serving a greater cause than that, because as the community will take over this with this decentralization and with the product developments on TinyMan, where I can speak about the charts coming, where I can speak about the more liquidity with the concentrated liquidity options that you might see on other protocols, AMM protocols. Also, we're looking forward to working with the TL5 that Algorand has launched. So with that, we're gonna actually create this innovative hub in TinyMan where users will actually have access to other things, and we will just keep pushing the boundaries of TinyMan. So in the future, I think the future is very bright, and I'd like to add something. As far as DeFi goes, and you put it before that this is not finance just decentralized. This is a different space, and what's also different here, I guess, is here when you come here as a person or as a project, you are receiving far more welcoming sentiment than compared to the traditional world. I mean, if you come here and if you reach out to Algorand, if you reach out to other protocols, other projects here, they will just embrace you and they want to work with you. And as Michael said, what Natalie's team is doing there is also like connecting all the other projects. So that's what we're looking forward to. TinyMan is going to be one of those projects that is connecting some dots, and all the while, improving DeFi, improving the product, and becoming something substantial.
Oh, thank you very much for reminding us that creating categories, is always a mistake, particularly in an open and developing world, and also the fact that categories that remind too much of the old finance are really not a good way of describing DeFi. And I agree with you, the fact that we are seeing today, so business that could consider themselves, I don't know, competitors, actually never looking at things in this way, because this is a totally open market, so it would be a very stupid way to look at the other projects on the different platforms as competitor. There is much more opportunity in realizing that there are several services that can be offered by several projects, and it's always a mix of what the different projects can offer that really represent the experience of a blockchain user. So thank you very much also for the vision that you are giving us. Please, Benedetto, obviously I'm going to use again a bad category and an old category, borrowing, lending, credit, How do you see yourself into this very big concept,
Yeah, thank you, Massimo. So first of all, before arriving to this point, I would like to describe a bit what it was, the passage behind our story. So we are almost 1 year now into this project, and we grow together with the Algorand ecosystem because the technological part was developing together with us. We have done an incredible work, and being us a lending protocol, and what it gives value, incomes to us, is the borrowings. It's pretty difficult to come with a lending protocol in an ecosystem that doesn't have yet application use cases where to use these loans. Of course, if you are willing to pay interest, it's because you are needing to do something with this asset. So I love the way the Algorand DeFi ecosystem is building. It's like piece by piece growing all together to make it the best as we can. So for example, when we just begin, we saw that there was TinyMan being built, so it's like one of the main pillars of the DeFi ecosystem. And we knew that there was Italia, which is another amazing protocol, it's doing no loss lottery. And when Italy show up and demonstrates that there is actually the possibility of this growing ecosystem on Algorand, it achieved 150 million of TVL. So for one protocol, it's a standalone in the ecosystem, it's a pretty good result. And now all this amazing project, we are growing together, we are building this ecosystem together, we talk to each other, we organize each other. For example, together talking with Michael, we had the idea of distributing multiple incentives on the borrowers that are going to borrow their bridged asset, because behind borrowing a bridged asset, there are many operations of the value chain of this asset. So this asset has been bridged, someone has locked the collateral for this, and this asset, maybe there is a swap behind on TinyMan, or it's coming from Prismatic. So this is a lot of value chain, and then when you are going to borrow it, so you lock something as collateral, this is being borrowed, and it's a huge value, and if you borrow, you are going to use again. So it's like all this circle is moving around the whole DeFi ecosystem of Algorand. So, as I see the future of a lending protocol, Volksfinance ourselves, so now we are concentrating to go live on the market. The market looks ready for a lending protocol now. We plan to launch at the beginning of the new year. We'll go on testnet on December. And then the plan is to evolve. First of all, to build up the decentralized governance. The user of Volksfinance will be the owners of the protocol. More than half of the tokens will be distributed through incentives to the protocol users. And this is a pretty beautiful thing. If you can imagine, by using a lending protocol such as Volksfinance, by depositing or by borrowing, you can earn the protocol governance token, which will give you the possibility to access to the life of the governance of the protocol. I see this is an amazing innovative point of view of doing finance, honestly. If we compare this to traditional finance, when we use financial services, we are not the owner even of our assets. So here it's another word that we compare it to. But said so, I don't go against traditional finance. As I see in the future, traditional finance and decentralized finance, they have to merge because, of course, we see an incredible growth of the DeFi ecosystem. We reached 270 billions of TVL, and there is still a few institutional players came into the game. And when this will be, and the numbers will be outstanding. So this is just the beginning, and Volksfinance is working for this, to not be against the traditional finance, but to merge it with the rules and the regulation that it is needed. So this is pretty how I see the future of our protocol.
Thank you for your vision, Benedetto. Obviously, I think we all hope that this link is created. We would also like to see this kind of profit sharing that you are describing, for the users actually making the profit of the platform. We would like to see that also in traditional finance, hopefully. So Natalie, your view on, again, you also used a very classic, but always relevant, term from finance, which is asset management, Why do you think that in decentralization is actually the future of this activity?
Yeah, so I think in traditional finance at the moment, or traditional asset management, as the name suggests, it's very centralized, right? And I feel like we don't have to look much further than the recent debacle with Robinhood earlier this year to kind of understand why we might want decentralized finance as opposed to centralized finance, right? So you essentially don't have control over your assets, you don't have full transparency, or you don't have full control over your assets. You don't have real-time P&L, you don't have real insight into your transaction history. So essentially you're kind of hoping and trusting that your asset manager is doing things in a best execution type of manner without, without any kind of control over that. And I think because like to help enforce trust in this very centralized, ecosystem, you have to have all these financial intermediaries to establish that trust somehow, right? And with that is kind of a lot of costs associated, both in terms of time and money. So it will cost you a lot of time to set up these relationships with all these intermediaries, but it will also cost you a lot of money, and clearly that cost is passed on. Plus, again, not to be mentioning Robinhood too much, but just something like that, a centralized organization can, prohibit trading as they see fit with your assets. That's kind of problematic, and I feel like that there's a lot of people that, I think Robinhood and eToro have like 40 million users between the two of them, and I think that there's a lot of people who are, they were really disillusioned by this event. And I think that the market is kind of ready for like non-custodial solutions where they have transparency. So I think if you kind of run a decentralized asset management protocol, it's essentially operating in the tokenized economy. So everything is digital, everything is in the blockchain, and the blockchain lends itself very well to transparency. And that's ideal for our use case. So I think both in terms of, you have lower costs, you have more control. There's almost no reason not to do things in a decentralized manner or not set it up as a decentralized protocol. So yeah, I think for asset management, essentially it's, you're automating a lot of the back and middle office operations, and you're enabling, very much what Ekin said earlier, right? It's not just making traditional financial system decentralized, it's actually unlocking new use cases. So in asset management, an interesting new use case or something that becomes significantly easier is cross-asset asset management. So if you want to do like an investment strategy and you want to put in lots of different, like into your strategy, you want to include lots of different assets that might not be offered by whoever your counterparty is, like that's now significantly easier given everything is tokenized in a standardized manner. So, I think that over time everything will be tokenized.
No, thank you very much, Natalie, for this impressive list of advantages, which are all true, But I also like the fact that you didn't put only the attention on the idea of being decentralized, but you pointed out what being decentralized means, Well, for example, within asset management, I really think that one of the incredible things that DeFi brings is transparency, you know? And this is happening across all the projects, Even if at times people criticize some projects in DeFi, for not being enough decentralized, because there is a process, also in decentralization. It's true that the advantage in transparency is always so massive, that this thing is something that no one can ever compare to anything that existed before, before DeFi. And I also, another point you made, consider that probably the kind of tokenized assets you are talking about would have been considered in the old financial sector like alternative assets, alternative investments, When you got into asset management for these kind of assets, the enormous issue that always arises is an issue of trust, So all the legal work, all the time, all the limits is because there is no real trust between the creator of the assets, in a sense, and those that wanna make a portfolio of these assets. Transparency, decentralization, smart contract reduces so much this issue to allow all the other enormous advantages that you were mentioning, So thank you so much for this analysis, Since we really have little time, I want to remind that the Algorand Foundation, and this is another splendid thing of the blockchain ecosystem, provides many ways to support, developers and entrepreneurs to build on Algorand, from grants, super grants, liquidity support when you come to DeFi, accelerators if you are at a different level of maturity. We have created an innovation fund, a specific fund for DeFi called Viridis Fund, for even different levels of maturity of a project. And we are supporting developers in other ways, with hackathons, with awards, with bounties. This enormous list of different ways of support is because we really want to be able to help an entrepreneur or a developer at the different stages of its developments. But we obviously also welcome and like in particular people that start developing on Algorand and actually come to the ecosystem and then get support when they are actually already able to develop or already showing their interest. But I would like any of you, briefly, because we don't have a lot of time, to actually give your own suggestions to entrepreneurs or developers that want to build in blockchain and in particular they want to build on Algorand. Please, Michael.
Yeah, certainly. I think for starters, one of the brilliances of blockchain is you sort of have a blank slate. One of the biggest issues I think with traditional finance is entering the market and actually innovating is incredibly difficult. The barriers to entry are immense. One of the beautiful things about blockchain is all of those barriers are removed and you have this blank slate capability of really thinking through and being completely innovative in terms of what you want to create. For anyone entering the ecosystem, and I think everyone on the panel has sort of spoken to this in different ways tonight, I think you just need to ensure that what you're going to do is something you're genuinely passionate about. I think you need to be really focused on this is not a opportunistic decision. It's actually a passionate decision. It's a strategic decision. It's really something you genuinely want to do and you genuinely are passionate about creating. I think beyond that, if you have a particular area you're interested in, I always find it's best to look at some of the biggest projects in the different blockchain ecosystems, start looking at what things like the founders are saying, what interviews they're doing, what articles they're writing, because, as Ekin said, you can actually access a lot of these individuals and these communities with great ease. They're very welcoming. And then start immersing yourself into those ecosystems and start talking to different people. And then once you really do concrete yourself in terms of what you are passionate about and what you want to do, as you said, there's incredible grants at the foundation. There's access to things like technical help, both from things like Bridge Language through to Algorand Foundation, through to Algorand Inc. And there's all the other projects in Algorand that are always keen to talk and collaborate and help other people who are passionate about building incredible things.
Thank you, Michael, also for reminding that the most important support is not only, we know what a young entrepreneur think is big problem actually is, but a fundamental part of the support is the people and the help we can give actually to developers. Ekin, please.
Well, I think Michael said a lot of the things that I was going to say, but just on top of that, I'd like to remind everyone that you don't have to be everything in this space. Like, you can just talk to a lot of people, meet new people here, and exchange ideas, and meet the right people to create your own team for your own project, for your own idea. And as Michael said, I think this is a beautiful opportunity to be at this time talking to be in DeFi, because you can do whatever you like to do. You can start doing what you're passionate about. And then if you're not a developer, if you don't know anything about businesses or marketing, it doesn't matter, because if you have the idea and if you want to do something, you can actually bring what you can to the table and find the other people. And through ideas, through time, through innovation, I'm sure you're going to get there.
Thank you very much, Ekin, for sharing your experience. Since we are actually run out of time and we have the lack of having Benedetto and Natalie here, I'm suggesting you to ask them directly later on, what their experience was. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Grazie mille per il vostro intervento.